Hey there fellow Planeswalkers, welcome back to Cards for Commander. Today we're going to take a look at Core Set 2019 and the Planeswalkers that are included in the set. As always, we start these out with a few honorable mentions. This time we've got two, and funnily enough they're actually from the Planeswalker decks. So first up we've got Ajani Wise Counselor, so 3 colorless, 2 white, legendary Planeswalker Ajani, 5 loyalty starting. You've got +2, you gain 1 life for each creature you control. -3, creatures you control get +2/+2 until end of turn. -9, put X +1/+1 counters on target creature where X is your life total. So overall I think this is actually a pretty decent Planeswalker. It's outclassed in a lot of ways by a lot of the, I guess, better versions of itself. But I did, like I said, want to mention it here, especially for life gain decks. There's a lot of strategies that could work really well with this. Ailey is one that comes to mind. Also, like, just token strategies work really well with this guy as well. I had a blast playing with him right out of the box, and you know, I played a few rounds with Greg with these Planeswalker decks. We had a pretty good time. So anyway, if you're looking for something a little bit more casual, I would definitely recommend this card. Artwork is amazing, card is awesome. Definitely pick it up if you're looking for, you know, a copy of this card. I think it comes out. I know we had the open house event this last weekend and it came out there, but also at the pre-release you can pick these up as well. The next one is actually another Planeswalker deck card, and that's Vivian of the Arkbow. So 4 colors, 2 green, legendary Planeswalker Vivian, of course. Starting loyalty is 5 again. It's got a +2 ability of put 2 +1/+1 counters up to 1 target creature, and then a -3, target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control. Then -9, creatures you control get +4/+4 and gain trample until end of turn. So oddly enough, I was actually surprised by the power of this card. I know a lot of people are giving it a lot of crap because of the comparison between this and the Planeswalker deck version of Watley, because I mean it's basically the same card. But overall I actually had a pretty good time with this card. I think it's actually fairly decent in like +1/+1 counter strategies. Also, the fight isn't bad, so if you're looking to run something like Gruen, this might not be a terrible idea for you, so on and so forth. But once again, it's a little bit more casual. It's not necessarily what we're looking for in true Commander. Okay, with that said, let's go ahead and break into the Planeswalkers from the set. So, Ajani, Adversary of Tyrants, 2 colors, 2 white, starting loyalty of 4. +1, put a +1/+1 counter on up to each of 2 target creatures. -2, return target creature card with converted mana cost 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. -7, you get an emblem with, at the beginning of your end step, create 3/1/1 white cat creature tokens with lifelink. My first thought was actually Krav and Regna. Really good combo there. Essentially, with the +1, you're buffing up Krav. With the -2, you're returning creatures that you're sacrificing to Krav. And then if you ever get to the true payout with the emblem, you start like going on that token theme that Regna really supports. Past that, I also thought of Janara, Asur of War. You know, just adding some +1/+1 counter power to your deck in the form of a Planeswalker is always good. You know, making them try and get rid of your Planeswalker, and also just protecting it and giving your creatures a huge buff, really. Also, Marath of Will of the Wild might be benefiting from this +1/+1 ability. Also, the tokens wouldn't be too bad, and the recursion would actually work really well here too. So next up we've got Tez Rat Artifice Master, so 3 colors, 2 blue, starting loyalty of 5. +1, create a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying. 0, draw a card. If you control 3 or more artifacts, draw 2 cards instead. -9, you get an emblem with, at the beginning of your end step, search your library for a permanent card, put it on the battlefield, then shuffle your library. Overall, amazing Planeswalker. This is going to go in a lot of decks and a lot of different types of formats. I'm really looking forward to trying to pick up a copy for a lot of decks, really. I mean, the first thing that I think of is Brea, Ethereum Shaper. This fits right into their artifact heavy theme kind of thing like that. Also, Shroom is another great example of something this would go amazingly in. And then Muzio, Visionary Architect, is probably the best home for this. I mean, it really does everything that you want it to do. It draws you cards, creates you artifacts, essentially everything that you wanted to do. And then Arkham Daxam is another great example of something that would, or a commander that would really utilize this Planeswalker. Next up we've got Liliana Untouched by Death, so 2 colors, 2 black, starting loyalty is 4. Put the top 3 cards of your library into your graveyard. If at least one of them is a zombie, each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. -2, target creature gets -X until end of turn, where X is the number of zombies you control. -3, you may cast zombie cards from your graveyard this turn. So overall, really powerful walker. I love that they are starting to I guess, twist the theme a little bit on these Planeswalkers, so they're not just overall powered in the entire, like, for the entire set. This is very tribal, and I think that's a great limiter, because it can make itself really powerful in a certain type of archetype, but not overpowered for the set, which I really enjoy. So when we think about, like, you know, commanders for this, we've got Gissa Geralf is a perfect example of something that Liliana can just slot right into. Also, you know, the Scarab God is another great example of something that this perfectly fits into if you're not running too, you know, like, control-y of a build, if you're going more tribal, of course. And then, you know, Ghoul-Caller Gissa is a great way to utilize this card as well. Overall, an amazing Planeswalker. I'm really happy once again that they decided to pull back the power level a little bit on the overall set and then bring it into more of a tribal sub-theme. So next up we've got Sarkin Fireblood, and as we were just talking about, this is definitely a tribal card. So 1 colorless, 2 red, starting loyalty is 3, +1 you may discard a card if you do draw a card. +1, second +1, which is really powerful. Add 2 mana in any combination of colors, spend this mana only to cast dragon spells. -7, create 4 5/5 red dragon creature tokens with flying. So this is actually a really good example of a fairly costed Planeswalker, or not fairly, unfairly costed Planeswalker that's made fair by its abilities. It's still pretty powerful, the abilities are what you want to do, but they're not overpowered, so this 3-cost Planeswalker, in my opinion, is very fair. So when you think about, like, places to put this, Zilliron of the Claw is the first thing that comes to mind for me. The card draw in mono red has always been very abysmal, so having a Planeswalker that does this for you is actually pretty good. Also, just being able to ramp up to some of your bigger dragons is really important, especially for mono red decks that don't necessarily always ramp that great, unless we're, like, looking at a very good artifact package or, you know, just one-off spells kind of thing like that. Also, you know, the Dragon is another example of something that can really utilize a Planeswalker like this. The +1 ability to add 2 mana in any combination of colors is where we're looking at this for. Being able to early cast some of our crazy dragons by not only getting the cost reduction from the Dragon, but also just adding that 2 mana of any color to our mana pool to cast those dragons could be really important. And then past that, I've been really looking at it for my Bladewing the Risen deck. It's definitely a little bit underpowered at this point, and I'm still kind of working on it. So Sarkin, of course, came right away to my mind. And I was just like, yeah, that's a really good addition. If I pull one, I'm probably going to put it there. Next up, we've got Vivienne Read. So 3 colorless, 2 green, starting loyalty of 5. +1, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature card or land card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. -3, destroy target artifact, enchantment, or creature with flying. -8, you get an emblem with creatures you control, get +2/+2, and have vigilance, trample, and indestructible. So overall, an amazing emblem. Overall, a pretty good walker. Not very, I guess, not very, like, shoehorned in anything like the last two were. This one's a little bit more generic. You can put it in pretty much any green deck and probably be happy with it, which I definitely enjoy. Examples that I thought of for this is like Azusa for the first ability. You know, you kind of look at those lands. Plus, Azusa doesn't always have like a way to destroy flyers, so that -3 really gets there. But the cool thing about this, once again, is you can put it in anything. So even if you're doing like a mono green Yeva build where you're just running a bunch of creatures, this actually works really well for what we're trying to do once again. So very good utility here. I will love getting a few copies of this, and I highly recommend holding on to them, especially if you're looking at building mono green anything. I think this works perfectly in that type of build. And that concludes Cards for Commander Core Set 2019 Planeswalkers. So, as always, I like to end these videos by saying that these are purely my opinions and this is my build style. So if you saw something that you didn't like, say, I don't know, you hate Vivienne Read or something like that, and you never want to include her in anything, that's of course your choice. And then, of course, like if you saw a Planeswalker, or didn't see a Planeswalker that you really enjoy, here, once again, don't take my word as gospel. It's not anything, it's not set in stone by any means. These are just, once again, my preferences. So, look forward to the next edition, which will be the legendary creatures and their various interactions, and then after that we'll try and do creatures, then artifacts, enchantments, and then the spells, and then we'll probably take a quick look at the lands as well. So anyway, we will see you guys next time. I hope you guys have enjoyed, and have a good day.